Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of E-Cell VIT's official podcast Ruminate. I am Jaideep Thakkar, your host for today's evening. We have some of the most amazing people from the field of entrepreneurship. And on our today's episode, we have Mr. Aditya Arora joining us. Mr. Arora is the CEO of FAAD Network, an angel investor, Padma Shri nominee, and a parliamentary awardee. And he has achieved all this at a very young age. Sir, you are truly an inspiration. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Sir, I want to start by asking, as an investor, what sector in India is most exciting for you right now?
Yeah, thank you first of all so much to the team of E-Cell VIT for having me. In terms of sector, I as an investor, we are sector agnostic. So we look at all sectors with equal relevance and focus. But I think three themes have emerged out of COVID quite well. One is the health and of course diagnostics sector, which is picking up, where people are now focusing on their wellness and their well-being from quite early, and COVID has taught us that anything can probably happen at any point of time. I think that is one sector in which a lot of innovation is happening and a lot of money is flowing as well. I think the second sector on which we're building a strong thesis on is the banking sector and the financial services sector. What COVID has taught us also, another thing is that probably financial stability is must for encountering any sort of emergencies, right? And a lot of people lost their loved one because, of course, they could not manage the finances. So people are now moving towards better financial intelligence, thanks to Instagram, Twitter, and social media as well. There are a lot of content creators coming up and talking about finance, stock markets, and startups openly. That is the second sector where we are looking at. And I think third sector, which is very dear to me, is the sector of gaming, right? So online gaming was not at all talked about before COVID, but now, as you know, online gaming is $1 billion industry just in India itself.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that is one sector where I see a lot of companies coming in. In fact, I'm already invested in a company, but looking to invest in 2-3 more companies in the gaming space.
Okay, sir. So next question is, Indian startup ecosystem is doing absolutely great right now. But where do you think some major improvements can be made to help it reach its full potential?
India is, of course, coming up. More startups are getting funds, of course, these days, and they're raising a lot of capital. And this year we saw almost all startups like Zomato, Policy Bazaar, Paytm, Nykaa, all these guys are geared up for their IPO. Zomato's IPO was a success, and now Freshworks IPO day after yesterday was a big success at Nasdaq. So I think positives are there, signs are there, but there are a couple of things, of course, which I think is missing. One is the space of innovation. I think in India, startups are doing a lot of Me Too models, a lot of copy models, where innovation is not happening a lot. So I think maybe some innovative execution, some innovative ideas, if they come in, I think that is one space. Second is space of more retailing angel investments. Right now, angel investments, the capital that's coming through is coming from wealthy people who can invest a lot of capital in startups and take a lot of risk. So I think it needs to be neutralized more towards, so that normal people who can invest as low as 20, 25,000, 30,000 into startups and take a risk, right? I think if it does move towards that, and of course, a lot of work is happening, a lot of simultaneous and discussions are happening with SEBI as well. A couple of platforms are already doing it. But to do it at large, I think if regulations can be met out, and I think it's a very interesting space, because people have made money in IPOs and they have realized that if you invest in these companies earlier, you make a lot of capital. Simple example could be people who invested in Zomato stocks. It got listed at somewhere around 120, 130, trading at somewhere around that. People made about 50% returns on it and they were happy. Info Edge, on the other hand, the investor in Zomato made 750 times their capital on it, right? So 50% returns versus 750 times the capital. So I think people are now realizing that, okay, there is money, there is meat in angel investments. And if it opens up to retail segment, I think we have a product.
That's a great idea. Yeah. So, sir, you have heard a tons of pitches. So what are the qualities and skills you look for in the entrepreneurs who pitch you for the startups? And how can aspiring entrepreneurs can learn those skills?
So I think entrepreneurship in itself is a skill in the first way, right? You need to be very skillful to become an entrepreneur. But I think in under entrepreneurship, skills like hard work, consistency, passion, these are more qualities and virtues any entrepreneur should have if they want to become successful. But I think one underrated skill I would say an entrepreneur should have while they are specifically pitching is the art of feedback, the art of listening, right? A lot of startups while pitching just make it one-sided, but investments happen two-sided. So always listen to what the investor is trying to say, note down their points, jot down their thoughts where they are coming from, and innovate. Don't take it always by heart that if a person is saying you this, then that has a different connotation. So I think more open-mindedness needs to be there when you are pitching as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, the founders are sometimes too much in love with their product, so they can't take proper feedback.
Absolutely. You should be in love with your product, but not obsessed with it. Because if you're obsessed with it, then you're not able to hear someone. But love can always have breakups. Obsession never has a breakup.
Yeah, true, sir. So, sir, you went from being an intern at FAAD to being the CEO of the FAAD. So, do you recommend aspiring entrepreneurs to take up this type of internships, and how do you think it can help them?
So one thing I'll say that no internship can make you the CEO in the first place, right? So it's not like you do an internship and you're the CEO of a company. It's a long battle. It's of course work. If you have to make your way up to the top, you have to go to the top, right? So you will start from the bottom anyways. Internships are a great place to move beyond your comfort zone. I've always realized that one thing that fundamentally our youth does wrong is do internships in which they're already confident about, skills they're confident about. But that does not help because you're already a master of it, right? So do an internship which is outside of your comfort zone. You haven't tried. Like if you are a guitarist, do an internship in dance. If you are a dancer, do an internship in music. Move outside of your comfort zone and learn skills which are not directly related to what your field of work is. And that sometimes may become your defining career. Like I never wanted to do entrepreneurship. I went to a very good college. I could have got the best of the placements as well. But I never went towards that because once I did an internship outside of my comfort zone in FAAD, I realized that this is now the area that I want to expertise on. And I built throughout my college, I built my thesis extensively on startups only. Then I never looked at anything else apart from startups. So do an internship in field outside of your comfort zone and closer to the field you want to make a career in. If you do that, then I think you are going on a right track towards your career growth.
Yeah, it helps to expand our horizons. So, sir, you have also done some great work in the field of education. So, I wanted to know your thoughts about the current education system in India.
I think we always say in a light-hearted note that there are two things missing in education system: education and system, right? So I think that definitely needs to improve the quality of education and the system as well through which education is being taught to people. So I think what a lot needs to be changed. I can go on for hours and hours, but the education Yadra campaign that I built on identified two fundamental problems in the education system. One fundamental problem is that it's a very division-based system. So if you are in class 6, I'm in class 8, right? So if let's say you are more intelligent than me, like you have more IQ than me, you have to wait for 2 years to read what I'm reading right now, which is higher class. So you can't skip your class and say, I want to read of class 8. That is one thing. So that basically hinders your growth for 2 years. You can't exceed. It's a very tight-knit system in first place. Second, I think the system is that most of the education system in India is driven by a lot of theoretical concepts where rote learning happens, right? And all of us know that whenever you do a rote learning, you just remember it till the time of your exam. After your exam, even 1 or 2 days later, or even a month later, you forget everything. So technically, you are let's say a graduate, but you don't even know the basics of class 12. Then what's the purpose of this graduation, right? So we are more marked by just superficial milestones. Once we reach that, graduation happens. Once we reach that, but I think if it makes more knowledgeable, more extracurricular in that way as well, rather than just like sharpening the intellectual base of a student, I think education system can go a long way because India has a lot of young people and a lot of people who want to learn things, but just that the system needs to reciprocate as well. So there are a lot of challenges in early stage startups. I think 2 or 3 major challenges is one is building a team, which is the toughest challenge. In early
Yeah.
stage, you want to build a team. You can't offer a salary to someone who's coming. You can't offer them luxuries of life. You're starting out. You have to be very lean. You have to be very modest in your approach.
Yeah.
So one is building the right team where you're not just hiring people, but hiring people with a skill set who can contribute in some way to the company, right? You're not just adding up people in the company, but adding skill set, adding a skilled labor force into the company. And
Yeah.
also hiring your partners, your co-founders, your CTOs, all these guys who play a management role in managing all the workforce. So I think team is the biggest challenge at an early stage. Second, I think funding now is not the biggest challenge because a lot of startups at an early stage are raising capital. If you would have asked me this question maybe 3-4 years later, I would have said funding is one of the challenges. But I think now I don't think it's a challenge anymore.
Yeah.
You should definitely, if you're good, you can definitely raise capital as well. But I think beyond funding, the second challenge is technology. Because a lot of startups don't know what kind of technology to build, and is technology interactive as well. One is that you've coded a website or something and you've built that, but will that website work? Will that website interact with me as a user, right? Will that website help me navigate my decision? Let's say if I want to buy an insurance policy, I don't want the
Mm.
website to just list the information that is out there. That I can Google as well. But I'm coming to the website, I'm coming to navigate my journey as a user who does not know anything about insurance policies. So how simple the technology can be for a user, and also how intuitive, how interactive, how self-explanatory that technology could be. I think that is the second most challenge that early stage startups are facing. So team and technology, I think, are the foremost challenges beyond other challenges that are out
Right, sir. So, sir, you did a lot of things during your college time. You built your campaign and also you were interning and also you were managing the college education. So, how were you able to manage your time so efficiently? And what drove you to keep going and not give up on at least one of the things?
there. Wonderful question. I think time is the biggest asset that we don't own,
Yeah.
right? So that is of course there, and time is what decides your virtue at the end of the day. To everyone who's listening, everyone has 24 hours. It's not that Elon Musk has 23 or I have 24 or you have 12. Everyone has 24, but how you utilize your 24 is what that matters eventually. So I think one way that I did it with is following a prioritization method, which I think a lot of us should follow. You can't do 10 tasks or 12 tasks in a day if you have a capacity to do three, right? So put down your three most important tasks of that day, or maybe an hour. So bring that prioritization to even hours, even minutes, right? Look at your time from minutes and seconds, and then you will not look at 24 hours. You'll probably look at 60 into 24, which is your 1440, right? So you look at 1440 minutes ahead of you. So I would say that divide it by minutes or hours, make it granular, and prioritize your work accordingly on that. If you can delay a thing by a day, which is not important to do on that particular day, go ahead and do that. Take a stand. Take a stand of your own time. Don't let others dictate that, okay, ye kaam aaj hi karna. If you can maybe push that by a day and it's pushable, it's just not that important. You have other things to do on that day. Go ahead and do that. Don't be shy. It's your time. If you don't take a step for it, no one else will. That is one very important thing. Second is always list down your expectations from the day. I think a lot of us, how we start is this: we just wake up from the bed and then we react to the day. When we are
Yeah.
reacting to a day, we are always falling behind of time. When we decide our own day, we are always in charge. You look at this, at this point of time, I will do this thing to get to this. At this point of time, I will write an article. This how long this would be, and this would get it this. So like always plan your day ahead. Don't react to what the day throws itself, right? So I think these two methods, if you do prioritization and planning your own day, I think that would help you do that.
Yeah, so they are great tips. Uh, so, sir, I asked this next question for a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs out there. So, what is the process of getting your startup funded in India?
It's a very long question. Like I have a full course on that, which I've just launched on YouTube. I'll ask the team, of course, we can share the link with you. But process of funding is pretty simple. You present your whatever your business plan or whatever your financial projections. You present your whole documents for funding. Primarily, you require a pitch deck and financials. And then you go ahead, you reach out to investors either through networking, through cold calling, through emails, through LinkedIn, whatever the platform may be. You reach out to them, then you prepare, okay, this is how much I want to raise, this is where I want to get. So let's say I want to raise 1 crore and I want to get to this place. So your plan should be entirely clear, your plan should be drawn down, your numbers should be well understood. That back channeling, that back calculation has to be there. But if you have to reach to 1 crore, what's the number you want to reach next month? So that discounting has to be there. So I think pretty much in a simple layman terms, it's creating a documents, deciding a plan, then reaching out to an investor, then getting them on board. Very simple. But on more details, you can definitely check out my YouTube channel where I've posted links on funding process.
Sure, sir. Okay, sir. So what's the one thing you look for in a pitch, but is often missing from most of them? Like founders forget to add them in the pitch.
Yeah. So I think two things that founder forget is one on the exit, like how will the investor make money in this as well and exit the company, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a financial transaction, right?
Yeah.
I am investing in a startup because I want to make money. I want to make my money 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. So how will the investor get an exit? That is very, very important, right? You have to prepare it for investor. So also provide options for exit, like how will they make money and how can they exit? That is one thing. Second thing, I think, which is missing in a lot of team is like in the slide is the team's background. A lot of people just put their names and say, okay, I'm the CTO, this is my name, this is my title. But what are your background before this? Like, what were you doing before this? How did you guys meet? How you started, that whole story? That has to be captured in a small form in the deck. That is very important to an investor because I don't know, like I do not know of your existence before you sent me an email, right?
Yeah.
I knew that you exist in the world only when you sent the email, and now you expect me to put like a crore on you on just a minute of your existence, right? So that's not true. So you should at least like be comfortable with the investor in talking about what has been our history till now, right? What have we done in the past? What have we achieved in the past? Where have we failed in life? Where have we not failed in life? And lastly, the third is, which I think nobody has in an investor pitch deck, is what help do you want from an investor, right? Like, do you just want capital? Like, do you just want the investment only? Like, do you want, let's say, you are onboarding me, I'm a social media expert, so you need my help in social media. Write that on the deck, that this is what I want from you. These are my list of things that I would want to work with you. That also gives the investor clear priority that, okay, this is where I want to work with. That is the beauty of startups. An investor would invest in a startup because they have more authority over a company. They can work with a company more together. I can't go into Reliance and say, okay, Mukesh Ambani, I can help you with these things, right? Please take me.
Yeah.
But I can go ahead to a startup and do that. And that is where I am hedging my risk as well. If I'm helping them more, that is where I'm bettering that startup as well, so that it does not fail. That is something.
So, sir, entrepreneurship didn't existed like in your family background or in your college. So, who has been your role model in your professional life to take up entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm the first generation entrepreneur from my family. I think it's a good thing as well. Now that, of course, I'm getting there. But before that, of course, I had my own fair share of struggles as well in terms of understanding, making people understand that this is not a gamble and maybe this is something I'm trying to do. So role model, I think no specific person. I admire a lot of people for their own reasons. Firstly, my partners, Karan Verma, Dr. Dinesh Singh, I think they've been extremely supportive in my journey as well, picking me up from college as an intern and then also giving me to lead the company, invoking that trust in me. And then I got that confidence from them to execute to FAAD, which is now 50 plus portfolio companies. So that is, of course, one of the set of founders that I actively look for. I think second that I look for is more my grandmother, my late grandmother, who always supported me in terms of shielding me from bad thoughts and like in terms of giving me confidence on bad days. I think that is, of course, there. But apart from that, no role model. I think just one aspect of entrepreneurship that I've loved, I picked up from Ratan Tata, is that you can be extremely successful, but if you're not humble, people won't respect you, right? If you're not modest, if you're not giving back to the society, people won't admire you, right? People would appreciate you, would clap with you, but would not connect with you. So I think that is one aspect that I've loved, that always be humble, be modest, and always give back to the society in some form or the other. And these three are the set of people.
Yes, sir. So entrepreneurship is often misinterpreted as fame and money. So now that's obviously a part of it, but it comes after a lot of challenges. So what are some of the challenges that you have faced in your journey and seen other fellow entrepreneurs face?
Um, I think yes, that's what I'm saying. That entrepreneurship is fairly glamorized in today's world.
Yeah.
That okay, become a startup, like TVF picture, Shark Tank, all this has come and glamorized it further, right?
Yeah.
That entrepreneurship is just like walking to an investor saying, "I want to do this," an investor giving that $1 million. It's not that easy, right? Of course, movies are work of art, and that is purely different. You do a lot of struggle before you move up to the top in entrepreneurship, and it's a self-made industry, right? It's a self-made
Yes.
industry, so
Yeah.
you have to make a mark for yourself. There are no godfathers here for you, right? So I think it's fairly glamorized in that sense that it's filled with money and fame. But what I've always looked at entrepreneurship from the point of view of solving problems and creating impact, right? That if there is a problem that could be solved, it could have an impact, it could be better for the society. Money and fame are just byproducts for you to chase. You can't go into the public and say, okay, I am a successful entrepreneur, follow me, give me money and everything. Once your work does not reflect that with you, once your impact does not reflect, once your personality does not reflect, you're not successful as an entrepreneur, even if you're successful as a person. So I think be of course focus on creating value for yourself, for the society, for your most importantly your customers. And money, fame, and everything are just byproducts. If you're starting entrepreneurship for money and fame, please don't start it. But if you're starting entrepreneurship for creating value, go ahead and do start it, right?
Yes, sir. So, sir, in your opinion, what's the perfect time to do a startup for an individual, or there's no such thing as perfect time?
I think I'm of the latter view. There is absolutely no such thing as a perfect time.
Okay.
Entrepreneurship is not like a degree where, let's say, you become a graduate and then you go after it. Entrepreneurship is a skill. So at any point of time, if you think you possess that skill or you can refine that skill or work towards that skill, I think go ahead and pursue entrepreneurship. That is what I say to people as well, like on startups after job or like before job or whatever it is, whatever suits you. I never did a graduation. Oh, sorry, I never did a post graduation. I did just a graduation, and within graduation, I started working as an entrepreneur, and I would say that right now I'm doing good. So I'm of that field where I did not go through a conventional MBA and everything, and I did it before. There are people who have gone for MBAs who have like left their high-profile corporate jobs and gone ahead and do that. So cases are there everywhere. Examples are from every field, from every situation.
Yes, sir.
But just whenever you feel you're confident to do it, you learn, and you have something at hand. I'm not saying that just launch without having anything. You have something at hand which has been validated, which has been tested by your customers, which you think has conviction to scale and to make an impact on the site. Just go ahead and do that. But don't wait for perfection. But don't start premature as well. And if you think you have that skill, just go ahead and back yourself and do that.
Okay, sir. So, what are the changes and improvements colleges can do to help student entrepreneurs?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of changes need to happen at the college level to, of course, have more entrepreneurs. One is where I've been seeing a lot is on the placement side of things, where IITs have picked up is something called as a deferred placement policy, where startup entrepreneurs, if they fail within 2 or 3 years after leaving their graduation or post graduation, after leaving their studies, they can sit back and sit for placements as well. Of course, I'm not saying that sit with placements with the students, but sit with placements where companies are looking to hire experienced people, and they should have some bit of a reservation around it because entrepreneurs do need that. Like I am being fair to everyone, entrepreneurship do need a cushion as well if in case their startup fails, and that should come from colleges which nurture them with this. That is deferred placement policy, which is I think very prevalent in IIT, Roorkee, IIT, Delhi. But I think this is just in IITs and IIMs. It should go beyond IIT and IIMs as well. That is one thing. Second is incubation centers in colleges are run by college teachers. I'm not saying they are bad, but entrepreneurship is a very specific skill, and you do need experts in that. It's not that anyone can come ahead and teach entrepreneurship. Again, college professors and everything, I'm not discrediting. They can do a good job. But to be very honest, if the best job has to come, it has to come someone from the industry, someone who is a real lifetime entrepreneur. And colleges should interact with them much more. Funding should be there so that college can also fund startups. I think these 2, 3 foremost changes that I see should happen.
Right, sir. So, sir, often young startup founders think that investors will steal their idea or something like that. So, can you break this myth among students?
Investing question. I love answering this every time. So, ideas are never yours, right? Ideas are always inspirational.
Yes,
you
sir.
take inspiration for something from someone which already exists out there. And that's when you create, you modify your own bit of imagination onto it and you create your own, right? It's not something which is proprietary to you. You can't go and say, need to have a patent on my idea. I need to copyright my idea. That's not there. So execution is what that matters. Like, for example, Google was never the first search engine which came up. Facebook was never the first social media. Netflix wasn't the first content platform. Uber wasn't the first taxi company in the world, right? So all the Netscape wasn't the first software company which is out there. So all these companies, of course, were not there first in their own category, which are very big, right? But the execution is what that matters. Your innovation that you add to an idea is what that matters. And even if I can copy your idea, I can't copy your execution. I can't copy and say, hey, Jaideep, let's go ahead and let me copy you, right? I can't do that. You are not a Excel file. You are a person. You have your own set of perspectives, understanding, thought process. I can't copy you. You can just copy idea on the face of it. So it's like I'll give a classic example. So there was, of course, a student who was writing an examination, and the person who was sitting behind knew that the person ahead is a topper. He or she blindly copied all the answers, right? Blindly copied all the answers, and he thought he would top. He got a 0 on his answer, on his exam, while the other person got full. You know why? The answer is because the question order in both the papers was jumbled. The question order wasn't the same. So he wrote the right answers, but the questions were wrong, right? He wrote the right answers for the wrong question, right? So execution, just like blindly copying the idea, would lead to nowhere. He failed in execution, right? So copying the execution is something which can't be done. So copy the so focus on building your execution, not the idea.
Okay, sir. So, sir, many students are into now personal branding. So, do you think personal branding is something which can help, which can help entrepreneurs or something like that?
Very good question. Very good question. So, personal branding has picked up post-COVID as only because people had time. People thought that they should do something. They started creating content. For an example, I was never active on Instagram, social media, but I started creating content on Instagram and it picked up amazingly well. In 4 or 5 months, I grew a lot on Instagram. Personal brand is very, very important because the next set of things which will go ahead are people, not a lot of companies. The world has seen a lot of companies, but not a lot of people coming ahead. So I think that is one thing. But the only challenge with the personal brand is personal brand is not built on air. It has something valuable for the company. You can't go ahead and say, okay, Aditya Arora is the best. Follow Aditya Arora, right? Has something so that your community can find it valuable and connect with you, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have anything valuable, people won't connect with you. Second, most important challenge is to keep your people engaged. Personal brand is not a point of time. It's perennial. It's everlasting, right? So always keep giving that valuable things to the community. Always lead your personal brand to something. Let's say if I have a very good brand on audience, will it help me to launch my YouTube channel? It has. It has helped me to build other channels as well. So make it integratable, provide something of value, and then find your niche, find your domain, keep giving that a value inside that. Don't shift to other things. If I'm a startup guy, I only talk about startups. Although I know about mutual funds, stocks, bonds, everything. But I only talk about startups because that is my bread and butter. So always be specific in your category. Keep building that, keep providing valuable content, and lead that valuable content to something so that your personal brand is not just at one place. So that Aditya Arora is not just big on Instagram. He's big on Twitter. He's big on LinkedIn. He's big on every social media platform, and people know him as well. People have been physical testimonies to his work as well. If you do that, your personal brand gets holistic, and that is how you should go ahead.
Okay, sir. Okay, I think I'm done with my questions. If you have anything to say to our young fellow aspiring entrepreneurs, you can go ahead and say it.
Or whatever you want to do in life, just have fun while doing it, and back yourself. Man. It's our career, so let's take more authority on what we want to do. So just do it, go do it, do that, and all the best from my end.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, it was an absolute delight to have you on Ruminate. We learned a lot about entrepreneurship for sure. We wish you all the best for all your future endeavors. And to my dear viewers, make sure you like the video if you learned something new. Also, let us know your reviews in the comment section. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also hit the bell icon so you get notified every time we come up with new exciting episodes. Thank you. Thank you, sir.